Hello, 'tis I, Fat Cow. This video's a bit random. I have a lot of opinions about things and some observations, and it's getting kind of crowded, and so I thought I'll put them on a video, and then I've freed up some space so I can continue making more of an effort at actually concentrating on stuff that's relevant. Now, the first thing I want to touch on, which is extremely important in my opinion, is the current allegations that are going around the internet pertaining to the sexuality of somebody's husband. Firstly, I'd like to express an opinion. The lady doth protest too much. When Foodie has been accused of something, and the something is almost definitely true, but cannot be proved, actually proved, because it's one of those things you don't have, access to documentation for, or it's not something you document. She has a tendency to say and repeat, "Where's your proof? Prove it," knowing full well that this allegation, almost definitely being true, cannot physically be proven. She has a tendency to resort to "prove it" or "where's your proof" as an argument. This doesn't happen when the allegations can be proved, or the allegations are actually false. It's only in these incidences that Foodie will use the word proof or proof. And this word has been thrown about by Foodie in regards to these allegations. And I will leave my opinion there. However, whether or not these current allegations are true or not, I hope that people will take into consideration a very, very, very important fact. The fact of the matter is, Salah is a Muslim living in a country whose law is Sharia law, Islamic law. And as we know, organised religions, the main faiths, tend to not see people, homosexual people, favourably. In fact, in the United Arab Emirates, anyone found to be homosexual can be put to death. Now, I'd say luckily Kuwait isn't one of these Middle Eastern countries, but it's only lucky insofar as Salah wouldn't be put to death if his alleged homosexuality was made known and proven. But he would be subject to 7 years in prison if the authorities found it to be true. So, while the allegations may be considered gossip worthy, please take into consideration that there are major consequences to these allegations, and for someone to be punished for something that's completely beyond their control and is of no consequence to anybody whatsoever, and is not hurting anybody else. I think it would be prudent to bear this in mind, that there is an extreme consequence to this potential information being made known publicly. So I have said my piece, it's done, it's dusted, I'm not going to refer to it anymore. Now Foodie is going on a fair bit about private, intimate matters, a lot, you know, and, well, apart from the slip up of accusing other people and saying you're not getting any either, which was a very obvious verbal slip, which implies the truth is somebody isn't getting their end away. I'd like to take you back to, I believe it was around the time when Salah's friend with the large décolletage was WhatsApp messaging Salah, and my bad, Foodie's friend's husband, partner, getting WhatsApp messages from the pretty lady with the big boobs, not Salah getting messages. No, not at all. And at some point, this is around the time, it's not necessarily the same video, somebody asked Foodie about porn and whether porn was cheating or not, to which she said it wasn't cheating, and then went on to say, which I think was extremely telling and answers what I think about the current things that Foodie is claiming go on behind closed doors, was that Foodie said porn was okay because there are times between couples where being intimate with a partner is a bit of an effort. The person might be too tired or too lazy, and there might be some things that get in the way of wanting to, because it is an effort to do so. And we know how some people feel about making a physical effort to do stuff. She ended the declaration that sometimes between couples, one of the people involved might find it too exhausting and too tiring to participate in such activities, that porn was good because at least then the people involved could see to themselves and it would be over quicker and it's less effort. So think what you want about that. Additionally, Foodie gatekeeping her subscribers and telling them what they can and cannot, or who they can and cannot watch, is a bit, controlling somewhat, considering that their membership, being a member to Foodie Beauty, there is no clause within the membership saying that there is no compete clause, there is no conflict of interest clause, nothing was signed, nothing was said that said if you are a member to me you cannot be a member to anybody else, you cannot give money to anybody else, particularly my opposers. there's no legal documentation, and companies that use these non-compete clauses or conflict of interest clauses are the employers to their employees, and arguably members are the employers to Foodie being the employee. And Foodie is of the belief that all creators want their viewers, their subscribers, their members to be theirs only, and that we would all take issue if somebody was on a competitor's or a naysayers or an enemy's. If, you consider other channels an enemy, which is a bit much. Foodie assumes everybody has this mentality, to which I say, no, not in the slightest. There are people who subscribe to my channel who watch your channel. They want to see both sides. They want all the facts, all the information, so they can make up their own minds. And if they comment on you or not, it's none of my concern. And here's the interesting thing. If they are, I don't know about it, because I don't go looking for it. I don't read your comments to find out if anybody, one, is also a subscriber of me, and two, what they're saying if they are. I literally don't give a shit. I don't have control over anybody. I don't have the right to demand anything from people who have voluntarily chosen to watch me. Nobody has that right, in fact. Granted, yours was somebody you considered a personal friend, and that makes it slightly different. But everybody else? Something else I have noticed, but this time regarding Amberlynnreid. Bex said that Amber uses washcloths, which is by the by. Actually, when you have difficulty performing certain tasks, you find solutions. Now, granted, the solution that Amber came up with is quite unique. I don't know how the thought process works to get to that decision that is a solution, but it's a solution nevertheless. It's very inventive, and we are not going to shame Amber for having to find a solution to a problem that many, many people have. Beck said that Amber would do this and then throw the washcloths away. No issue with that either. Until the flatmate discovered that Amber had done the same thing with their deceased mother's washcloths, which I personally have on the opinion were something that individual saved for themselves after their mother died, when going through the deceased mother's property and things, and wasn't, given in a will or something. When you do the house clearance and decide what to keep, what means something to you, what you give to charities or donate, I don't think it's something that would have been passed on in a will. But anyway, and Amber asked Beck to lie to the flatmate about what had happened to the washcloths. Now bear in mind, prior to that accusation, prior to the discovery that Amber had done this with the flatmate's washcloths, Amber was a single-use throwaway kind of girly pop. After the discovery, and after Beck failed to be in Amber's corner, these washcloths did not continue to be single-use throwaway. Afterwards, Beck was expected to hand wash these washcloths prior to them going in the washing machine. I'm of the opinion that Beck was required to hand wash these used washcloths as a punishment for not defending and standing up for Amber Lynn when it was discovered, because up until that point she had been throwing them away. Single use, throw away girly pop. Suddenly, after not being defended on said issue, insists that their partner hand washes them. Sounds like a petty punishment to me. Anyway, they're the thoughts I'm having currently. Nothing particularly exciting. Amber has allegedly DM'd Zachary Michael and then said, Zachary Michael will respond to my DM and then did a countdown. If I was in Zachary Michael's position, the absolute best thing he could do is not even acknowledge the existence of an email from Amber and just carry on with his life as if it never happened. Don't even acknowledge you got one and you don't want to talk about it. Completely ignore it. Anyway, that's all. Nothing else to add. I'm not going to talk about that incident with the cat. Accidents do legitimately happen, but how you respond to the accident says an awful lot about who you are as a person, and laughing speaks volumes. The boycotting of the boycott was not in the slightest bit surprising, and I would give Foodie the advice of just stop announcing your intention to do shit. Just stop it. Your addiction to food is too far gone for you to deny yourself anything at this point in extremely large quantities, and there is no such thing as a bonus sandwich. Bonus sandwich implies that it was given to you free, not I paid extra for this sandwich, whether it is a promotion or not, and therefore said sandwich was slightly cheaper. There's no such thing as a bonus sandwich. You have to go out of your way to order it. It doesn't come free, like those little toys you got in cereal boxes when I was a kid. You deliberately chose the extra sandwich as if it was some kind of, it's half the price, therefore I absolutely have to get it. I'd be an idiot not to. Just admit you're eating meals for 2 people now every time you get a takeaway. Stop pretending. Oh, and one last thing, and I apologise that this video is so random, but I am literally emptying my head to make space for other stuff. And now I've forgotten what I was going to say. Oh yes, The heaviest you've ever been was in Canada. And your example, your evidence that the heaviest you've ever been is not your actual visible size. It's not your clothing size. It's the fact you used a walker in Canada and you don't now. Didn't you use the walker because you just had surgery or you'd had issues with your back? And let's just say you are more mobile now than you was then. That doesn't actually have to be because you're lighter now. It could be, this is an interesting point of view, because you have to be more mobile now than you was then. So you've got to walk around. You have no choice. You are not lighter than you were in Canada. No way. Absolutely not. You're just so used to looking at yourself through either a filter or hidden under your abayas with your veil covering the majority of your face, that you don't see yourself as you actually are anymore. And if you do catch a glimpse of yourself, you just put it down to being a bad angle. You have positive body dysmorphia. You legitimately think you are smaller than you actually are. And ignoring everything else, any other aspects apart from your fupa, the extra fupa, the lowest one, hangs significantly lower than anything you had in Canada when you're not wearing your Spanx. If you were lighter, that wouldn't be the case. When you're sat down, your stomach reaches your knees now. It's the entire length of your thigh in thickness when you sit down. And that picture you showed with Grumpy Cat's face, your fupa only reached halfway down your thigh. You can believe whatever you want to believe, and you can tell us whatever you want to tell us about your weight and your size. No one is going to believe you, because it simply isn't the case. And this is my ADHD brain. Things are popping up now. Of course, Salah doesn't find Milky J attractive. Or of course, Salah told you he doesn't find her attractive. He doesn't want to risk his life by admitting that any woman is attractive in his eyes. He's not going to admit to anybody. You will ask him, is she attractive? Is she attractive? And he will say no every single time, because if he didn't, you would bite what remains of his dick off. You had a strop because Pete said Grace Kelly, arguably one of the most attractive women in history, according to Vanity Fair and other things and whatevers. He said Grace Kelly was prettier than you, and you had a strop on. Somebody who is scientifically proven to be pretty, because we know about the symmetry, and the more symmetrical your face is, the more attractive you are perceived. This is a scientific fact. And you had a strop on. Of course, Salah would tell you he found this particular person unattractive. He values his life, his sanity, the quality of his day, more than telling you the actual truth. Now, I think my brain is empty. Anyway, thank you for tolerating this verbal diarrhea and random nonsense I have recorded for all of prosperity. Take care, every one of you. Yes, even you, foodie. Yeah, it's me again. I forgot the most important thing I wanted to talk about, and the reason I came on in the first place, because I'm an idiot. I have dug up, now I'm going to cover some bits, and I'm going to flash it very quickly. My marriage certificate. And I just want to explain my marriage certificate from a Middle Eastern country very quickly. For a start, it's not white. It's actually a kind of beigey colour and is framed and double-sided. Okay? Now, the piece of paper in the clear sleeve that Salah was holding is not, double-sided, framed, whatever. This is really hard to do without showing everything. Two passport photos. That's me. Stamped with our individual thumbprints. Okay? Now, we got it translated into English at the English Embassy, the relevancy one, and I'm going to read through bits of it so that you understand. It says at the top, and this is translated where the photograph was, it says bride's photo attached with thumbprint, bridegroom's photo attached with thumbprint. It then says civil status registration under, and then it says a number and the date. Okay, and then it says on the, and then the date, in numbers and in written words, like day 6, blah, blah, blah. Before me, the notary, okay, of the country personal status registration office in the presence of, and then it lists the two witnesses. There's their name, their nationality, their religion, their date of birth, their place of birth, their profession, their residency, and plus their proven ID from the civil status office. Okay, so that's two people with all this information. Okay, the first page, the second page. Okay, then the groom, name, nationality, religion, place of birth, date of birth, where he currently lives, his profession, his address for work, his civil ID number, when it was issued, and a mailing address for serving notices. And then it's the name of the bride, my mother's name, my nationality, my religion, my date of birth, my place of birth, my address for where I live, my profession, my address of work, and then my passport details and when it was done, other ID, and mailing address for public notices. Okay. And then it just says that the two parties expressed their desire to be lawfully married. They've confirmed that there's no impediments hindering their marriage. The two witnesses have confirmed as such. and then it lists when my residency permit expires. And then it says, after reviewing the documents attached hereto and ascertaining that there are no impediments in the Sharia law that hinder their marriage, I asked if they were previously married. Then it says first party stated no, second party stated no. And then it says the bridegroom accepts that Mrs. is a lawfully wedded wife, and the bride stated she accepts to marry Mr. as lawfully wedded husband. And then it will include the dowry in accordance to Islamic law. And then I confirmed that I have received said dowry. We both agree to share residence after the marriage, i.e. we live in the same place. And it also stated that we didn't choose any financial system for the marriage, because it isn't a Nizar marriage, it was just a marriage. And then the wife submitted the approval of the British Embassy, legalised by the country Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and then displayed my proof of taking the Shahada and my Islamic name, my chosen Islamic name. All the documents are attached, and then the witnesses is drawn up the original, and 4 copies are notarized. And then we have the seal of the country Personal Status Registration Office, the seal of the country Ministry of Foreign Affairs, certifying the authentication of the signature, and then said that the marriage consideration shall be stated in full, the advance sum, the deferred figures, and any letters, and that the spouses may agree on whatever conditions they want to provide, that such agreement may not make permissible that is religiously impermissible, or make impermissible that is religiously permissible as per Muslim law. So you have to have all the documentation, everything. The witnesses have to give all their full information. The certificate in itself is not white. It is bordered. It is decorated. You need 2 passport photographs of the bride and groom at the top, which the stamp goes over the top, and then your thumbprint of each person goes also over the passport photograph. It is signed by all witnesses and then by yourselves at the bottom. It is stamped 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. It is stamped. I can't be sure if this applies to every courthouse in the Middle East, but my thumbprint, his thumbprint, and all the stamps, the seals, were in purple ink, the same ink you use when you vote in a Middle Eastern country, and it takes a few days to come off your thumb. And if thumbprints were used in Kuwait, it would inevitably be the purple ink, and you would see it in the courthouse video and for a few days afterwards. Basically, if I just kind of wave it around at you very quickly so you can't see the details, that looks nothing like the piece of paper Salah had in that clear folder he was holding on the video of the courthouse on January 16th, 2023. And that's all I have to say about that. The bit of paper I was waving about was a photocopy of the original marriage certificate, and that's why it's white. The original colour is that very, very, very pale greenish colour that the pages in passports are, which clearly isn't the case for the piece of paper that Salah was holding in his hand, which was very, very white and had no writing on it whatsoever. Just thought I'd add that in case somebody said, but the piece of paper you were waving about was white and you said it wasn't white. Well, that was a photocopy. I'm waving around a photocopy because I don't actually want to damage the original. Alright, anyway, thank you and take care.